Hey guys, how's it going? Value Venture Investing here today. So, Happy New Year, guys. We're in 2021, so hopefully we have some great gains like we did last year. What was the best performing asset of last year? It, of course, was Bitcoin. I didn't quite expect that to happen so quickly. I've been looking at Bitcoin for quite some time. I made a couple videos back in 2017 explaining why I was cautious but bullish. I figured within the mid 2020s would be a couple $100,000 a share. I'll put a link right here, right now, to one of those videos. So if you're new with Bitcoin, of course, it's the online decentralized cryptocurrency with a finite supply, meaning a limited amount of supply. By 2140, there should be about 21 million Bitcoins. However, there's going to be less than that. A lot of people don't necessarily talk about this, but the person who invented it, or Satoshi, other people have lost Bitcoin, so there's not going to be that full 21 million Bitcoins. So the supply is actually a little bit less than that. And as of today, there's only about 18 million that have been mined, but that's quite a bit. I mean, so it looks like we could be, getting to a point where it's becoming more and more difficult to get Bitcoin, more and more difficult to mine it. And that's one of the characteristics of Bitcoin is the more people, I believe it's every 4 years, the halving, it's more difficult to mine more of it, and that's what makes the finite supply. So you're probably wondering, watching this video, you're like wondering why it's going up. As of today, as of recording this, we're over $40,000 American for one Bitcoin, over 50,000 Canadian. It's just been on such an incredible run. So a lot of people wondering, what are the reasons for this? And I think the most obvious reason why we're in such a bull market tear right now is the quantitative stimulus, specifically related to this crisis that's going on right now. Bitcoin was created with inflation in mind, with the fact that money loses value and governments have a lot of control over the money supply. And that was one of the hallmark features. But with this crisis that's occurred, we've seen not billions, not hundreds of billions, but trillions of dollars of stimulus money being created. Most of this is just the Federal Reserve buying distressed assets from banks and banks lending money out. Now, this is basic supply and demand. What happens when you flood the market with money? You devalue that currency and inflation ensues. So you might have noticed a lot of things are getting very expensive. You might have also noticed it's a lot harder to get your hands on things. So that's very basic economics 101, and we've seen record amounts of money come in, and even around the world. And I think that's just, accelerated this premise, this thesis that we need to have something that holds value, and holds value maybe even better than gold, because like I've said to you guys before, gold maybe not particularly my favorite, because it basically outplaces inflation in terms of its returns. Also, I think another compounding factor is just the distrust in general with the government, right? We've seen a lot of political unrest all over the world, people disagreeing, people agreeing with what governments are doing. And again, people want more control of their money, and that's one of the things, and we'll get into this a little bit later, that is very beneficial about Bitcoin. So the last run that we saw in 2017 was all driven by individuals, essentially. And this time it's more about institutions. We've seen institutions come in record numbers and realizing they need to acquire some of this. We've seen even individual businesses, publicly traded businesses, like Square acquiring huge amounts of Bitcoin. PayPal's allowing you now to buy it. So it's getting a lot of legitimacy. I mean, a lot of businesses as well have domains. Like Amazon has many domains related to specifically Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as well. So you know that they're actually taking it seriously, and I mentioned this in one of my other video. Of course, institutions, financial institutions are now giving it credit. JP Morgan just came out here the other day saying they think this rally could run it to potentially $146,000 per share. So it's gained a lot of legitimacy. Now, my thoughts on this. I wanted to make a video for you guys because I made a video a long time ago and I wanted to update you what I thought. A lot of people throw around the $1 million figure. Now, a lot of people will equate this to market cap. They might even say that gold, it might become the new kind of gold 2.0. Now, gold has a $10 trillion market cap. Bitcoin is about $600 billion, according while recording this. So, I mean, even if you took half of that, 5 trillion, you're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for Bitcoin. So I think maybe that's where JP Morgan is coming from. But I think the main thing to focus on with this is it's almost impossible. And I don't think, and these people that come up with numbers like 1 million, yeah, it's possible. 100,000 is possible. There's that finite, we know what the supply is, but we don't know what the demand is. Of course, demand is outstripping supply right now, and that's why prices are skyrocketing. But ultimately, we don't know what that demand is going to be. So it's near impossible to give it a specific number. So in terms of what I think it's going to do, I think potentially, it might take 10, 20 years. It's kind of hard to believe it might actually become worth $1 million. And that's just because of that small amount of supply. But of course, it has to become a new standard for people to be investing their money in. It has to be a lot more easy to transact. Education must be much better around. There's a lot of different things. So it's potentially going to take a lot of time, but this acceleration lately has been exciting. I do think we'll probably see it pull back quite a bit because in 2017 we've seen that many different times. And it kind of is the way that Bitcoin operates, it jumps in spurts and then it pulls back again. So I still stick with that, 1% of your net worth. Again, guys, this is just, entertainment. I'm not giving you advice. But I kept around the 1%. I personally haven't bought any right now. I bought all mine back in 2017, 2016, 2017, and I'm just going to hold forever, right? In terms of alternate coins, I call them altcoins. Personally, I have zero interest in those whatsoever. I think it's extremely risky. Bitcoin, you don't need to add another layer of risk to it. I think if we see a cryptocurrency that actually takes on the world and can be used as a major form of payment in many retailers, it's going to be Bitcoin. It was decided a long time ago that that's going to be the winner. People still might be trading these other ones, and of course, there's other ones that have market caps that are close to Bitcoin. But in my personal opinion, that's the one that's gonna last. So you might be wondering, if you're new to this, how do you get your hands on it? Now, there's many different ways to get your hands on it. The easiest way is to open up an account with an online exchange like Coinbase. I'll have a screenshot of that on the screen right now. And these basically work just like your brokerage account, right? You can buy and sell, but you're going to have to upload some proof of your of who you are in terms of your license plate and different information, depending where you are in the world, to avoid any kind of money laundering. Now, once you have it on that exchange, I won't go into the details of it, but there's your private key and your public key. Your private key is the one that essentially, if somebody has that, your money's gone. So that's how you claim access to that Bitcoin. Your public one is one where people can see and you can send money back and forth. So they're actually holding your private key. So I do have a lot of trust in them. There's of course different exchanges, but I think some of the biggest ones like Coinbase are probably the safest. And they're going to do their best to keep that safe. Some of it are going to keep offline, some of it are going to keep it online. But you're always at risk for attacks, and we've seen them before in terms of, hacking attacks, right? So if you wanted to be the absolute safest, you probably have to go with a paper wallet, but that's a bit complicated. But there's a lot of videos on YouTube and advice online on how to do that. That would be your safest bet. But if you're going to have it on an exchange, there's also other options. There's companies like BlockFi and others that will actually pay you interest to hold your cryptocurrency there. But then again, that's just adding a level of uncertainty and some risk. So I don't know exactly how I feel about those yet, but that's definitely an option. Personally, probably one of the best options I think you can do is you can kind of get a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Ledger, and basically you're pulling your cryptocurrency offline and you're putting it onto this little device. And this little device is going to hold it, and it's going to have a screen on it that shows you exactly, how much money you're going to send. There's lots of videos online explaining how to do that. Just YouTube it. And then that way it's in your possession. It's still somewhat more vulnerable than a paper wallet, but it's probably your best bet in terms of keeping it to yourself and keeping it secure. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to make a quick video, let you know where I'm at. Personally, in my personal opinion, I do think we're going to be in the hundreds of thousands. I just don't know how long it's going to be. And for me, it's an extremely long-term investment, maybe even until I'm an old man or I'm retired. So would love to know your guys' thoughts on it. Do you think that this is going to crash like it did back in 2017 and then recover or crash altogether? Or what do you think is the long-term viability of Bitcoin? That's going to be it for today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Really helps out. And I'll see you in the next one.